But when obviously you guys needed him to replace AG there, what made him somebody you guys went after? What were you kind of looking forward to him bringing to the coaching staff?
Yeah, so I feel like I've known Chris for a while. Our teams, back when we played Seattle so many times, a few years back, he was coaching there and had a lot of success with Pete and his staff. I've spoken to him several times when he was in Dallas, just professionally over different things, and kind of always had stayed in touch. And then with the loss of Aaron, we had that opportunity to bring Chris in along with a few other candidates, and he really did a good job. And I'm excited that he's joined our staff. I think there's certainly an experience level, and also the attention to detail. I think he's a really good teacher.
Sean, can you just summarize the work you guys have been able to get done this week?
Yeah, we've kind of continued with this schedule we've been on. We're getting a lot of course, a lot of weight room work, a lot of conditioning, but a ton of individual specific technique work. And I think, sometimes when you get started in training camp and you get started in the season, you're always trying to have enough time where you're working the proper technique with your players. And I think this time frame for us is really been good. The rookie class, they've done a really good job. They're in shape, and I'm encouraged with the conditioning level of those guys as well as the veteran players.
Sean, I know when Dan and Nugent were the offensive line coaches, they would take turns leading meetings, and Nugent said he's going to take the same approach with Streif and let him lead some. What's the advantage to just having two different voices in there and being able to switch that up?
Well, look, it's a position group that's deeper than most, and so I think that it's fairly common in our league to see two coaches in that room. Both of those guys bring completely different skill sets, and yet they're passionate about teaching and about coaching. And I think that relationship is going well, and I think it's going to benefit our players. So, at times I'm sure whether it's the tackles specifically or the interior part of the line or the tackles and tight ends with Roshar working at the tight ends, that there's a lot of carryover coaching that's necessary. And I think that I think Zach brings an added dimension to our staff as someone who played not too long ago and is someone who's very smart. And then with Brendan, he's someone that has kind of come up, in that front, if you will, or O-line background. Both of those guys are doing a really good job, and I think you're always looking to change up the message sometimes or how it's delivered, and I think those two will do a good job of that.
Sean, how is Michael Thomas doing from a health perspective? Has he had ample time to recover from the ankle issues last year?
Yeah, look, he's here and been participating. He looks good. You still monitor it, pay attention to it, and scan it, all those things. He's getting treatment, doing the things necessary. So far, so good.
John, have you noticed any difference in Marcus Davenport coming in this year, whether it's physically, his mentality? He talked a little bit about how he was focusing on kind of getting more confident and not worrying about the results as much. Have you been able to see that?
Yeah, I kind of see more of a veteran player. I know he's had a good off season. He's been healthy for the most part, and he's doing well right now. That position group in general is really doing well. I think that experience is going to serve him well. His disruption, the end numbers will come, and it's just learning to play in and play out, and those results that sometimes you feel like you're being judged by specifically a hurry can be just as effective as a sack. We're excited that he's having the type of off season he's having.
You mentioned you guys are doing a lot of technique work. Are you guys seeing the growth that you want to see out of Cesar Ruiz from last year to where he is now?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. He's had a really good off season. He's been here and getting a lot of work done. But to answer your question, yes.
Sean, I don't know if leap is the right word, but how much more of a production and impact do you think Traquan Smith can make this year on, offensive numbers? I know he's come a long way as a blocker as well. So.
Yeah, look, he's got a lot of versatility. He does a lot of things well. I see a confident player when we talk about him. He's physical. You can point to games where you see growth. And last year with some of the injuries we had, he had, a real good, an important game for us at Detroit. He's one of those players that I think, details every aspect of playing that position. And so he's not afraid to do some of the noisy work, but yet he's someone that can stretch the field. And he's in good shape. He's moving around. He's smart, he's versatile, and all of those things, you don't take for granted.
Confidence was the first word you mentioned. Is that something that did have to develop with him for a little while? I know he talked about grasping all the different receiver positions early in his career.
Yeah, I think he's always been a confident player, but then all of a sudden, a young player that comes into our league and then starts doing it on a regular basis, you see that grow. And so, again, I use that term, I see a veteran player with him in the way he prepares, the way he carries himself. He's one of the leaders now in that room. And I think, he's someone that not only does it by example, but I think he's someone that puts in all the time and the attention to the detail.
Sean, for your second-year players after that kind of truncated, weird offseason they had last year coming in as rookies, how important has this offseason been for them just to get that full amount of time and get to know everybody and know where they're supposed to be, all that sort of stuff?
I think it's been extremely valuable. You're right. I mean, the schedule that they came into last year was uniquely different. They've all been here now and gotten into a routine relative to their training and specifically have had a lot of time to work on their individual technique as it pertains to the position they're playing. So I think that time frame has been extremely beneficial. I mentioned the rookie class the same way. They've been real impressive in their time here and all the things, I get updates each day from Dan, our strength coach. We're excited to see these guys, in training camp once we have a chance to put pads on.
Kind of related to that, were you able to learn anything from that experience last year that maybe you can take into this year with rookies? Like do you kind of, I don't know if it involves like a change or anything, but
look, ultimately, I think every one of us, not just in the football world, you get affected when something like that takes place. There are certain things that you may grab onto and say, hey, as a result of our experience from last year, here are a few of the things that we want to keep in place. I think that's no different than in the normal workforce. So scheduling wise, there are a few little things that we liked about what we did in season that might be different. And I think most importantly though, is it really narrowed the focus on the things that you can control. And there's a part of it where you literally train yourself to not get as consumed with the things that you have no control over.
In that same vein, will you guys do OTAs and minicamp like you are now for going forward, or is that something you'll evaluate later?
Yeah, that's a good question. We probably will evaluate it a little bit more for next year when we get there. Certainly there are a few things that we wait to hear from, union and management council, and we we kind of go that direction, follow that lead. But I know that we feel real good about the schedule we've been on. And, and we feel like, I know just from the coaching staff perspective, all of us, when we meet and we discuss what we're doing, the results and the feedback has been really good.
John, couldn't help but notice your hockey picture you put up on social media. How much did you play growing up?
I played a few years. I don't know if it was Alex or who posted that. And I was like, wait a minute. I don't know how many guys on our team can skate. It's a good question. But no, it's a tough sport to play when you play football. And in that picture was Ty Gretzky, Wayne's oldest son, who runs his camps. And that was taken, right before one of the morning sessions at camp. And I went out there and skated a little bit. It was it was just a newly Zambonied rink. So it was still wet. I got out on the rink, was skating a little bit. It had been a while. And then Ty opened the doors and 108-year-olds came skating up behind me. And that's when I kind of circled back. I fired a few wrist shots at the net and then took the skates off and went home.
Sean, with Paulson Adebo, since I think he was the only guy you brought in that opted out last year, you have to consider anything differently with working him back into playing organized football, or
well, you pay attention to his conditioning level. It was not unusual on the West Coast for players in the Pac-10 or some of those schools. A lot of it we felt when we were in the draft prep, we saw had a lot to do with the conference they were in. But he's in good shape. He's been training. He's looked impressive, and yeah, we'll be smart with all of these guys. But I think the key is this time, the time that they've been here, and then between now and training camp. But I think it was the case with a lot of players out west. All right, thank you guys.